Hello, and welcome to this week's weekly reading. I feel like I might have had Claricom as a weekly oil suggestion for last week, and I have added to it from the oily crew this stick, deep blue, and stick with copaiba in it, and past tense, a relaxation blend. So all of these have a calming impact and a releasing of tightness. And also because from a muscular perspective, if we can release the contraction, we can get more movement and release any pain in forward movement, which is really going to tie in with the cards, which you'll see in a moment. I've also used a bunch of my wands, but I'll show you the other two when I bring you into the cards. This week is an interesting one. We have the Aquarius new moon. It's in late degrees, much further away from Pluto, which is at the beginning of Aquarius. But we also start the week with Mercury entering into Aquarius, which will be Mercury's first touch with Pluto in Aquarius. So Mercury being our mind and our intellect and how we narrate and tell our story, going to have a conversation with a very new plutonic energy that hasn't been there for ostensibly about 250 years. And how are we going to think about that? Being that Aquarius, and remember this is also the new moon theme, is the futurist, the revolutionary, the real practical steps to change the world, innovator, philanthropist, humanitarian. These are the kinds of mind changes we might be having, and also the seeds for the new moon. So also, I feel like this might have happened last week or the week before. We've had a fifth card jump out. Clearly, there is a lot of information to be had at the moment. And Aquarius is a very information-driven sign. It is actually the sign that rules astrology and technology and IT and the internet. So let's pick a card between 1 and 5. You can use the last card as a bonus card if you like. So pick between 1 and 4 and just take number 5 as your bonus. Or however you feel like doing it. Trust your intuition. That is what we're all about here. And then let's dive in. Here is the overall picture. I've got an Agerine wand here. And I have got a kyanite wand here. So you can see the wands really coming in. It's almost like giving us some boundaries. Now, the traditional ruler of, Aquarius is Saturn, which is a real boundary-focused sign. The modern co-ruler, you might say, is Uranus, which is a little bit like break down the boundaries. So it's funny that I have kind of got this very boundaried fence as we start to get our first taste of, what the planets are going to the personal planets are going to be kind of reflecting for us. So it's a very personal week. There's no major arcana cards. And I really feel like that has a lot to do with the new moon energy, which is sun and moon are personal planets. And the Mercury is a personal planet coming in to touch Pluto. So we are supposed to be looking at the moment. And then just to point out that next week, we're going to have both Mars and Venus, the last two of those personal planets, come in and have their first connection with Pluto. So for the next few weeks, it's very much about what is my Pluto in Aquarius journey going to be. Pluto is a transpersonal planet. The overall themes with Pluto are going to be bigger picture themes, collective themes. But at the moment, our focus is, okay, so that big thing is happening, but that's outside of my control. What I can focus on is how it looks to be that I am going to be impacted by the next 20-year journey of Pluto in Aquarius. And we kind of start a little bit bored, a little bit apathetic, a little bit bratty almost, like, oh, what's the point? The focal point of this young lady's gaze is at the emptiness of her life, the empty cups, the unfulfilled. And she's completely missing, and it's just about a perspective shift, she's completely missing this new opportunity, the hand of the universe offering her this full and abundant and continually refilling. Look at the energy going down from above. Cup that is being offered to her, but it's like she's just too stubborn, bored, apathetic, bratty, lazy to turn around and say, okay, fine, this part of my life has ended. Let me see what other doors are opening. And this is really true of a big shift like Pluto going from spending sort of 15, 16 years in a sign of Capricorn and moving for another 20 years. He doesn't have a perfect orbit. It's elliptical. So the amount of time Pluto spends in a sign is not equal. But anyway, he's going into this new cycle. And as we go into this new cycle, it's like we're being offered new types of emotional fulfillment, new types of joy, new types of pleasure. But we are, at this point, according to this card, kind of stubbornly resisting stepping into that and accepting that. Now, the Six of Swords is in protection, and I think that I also just want to point out we have two swords cards in protection. Mercury, the planet that's meeting up with Pluto, is a very intellectual, swordsy kind of energy. And at the moment, our swords are turned around. So we may see that as Mercury steps in and gets this kind of like kick in the face of the changing of the guard from Pluto and the powers that be. Pluto is really like power, power structures, the powers that be. Gives Mercury a kick in the face and says the way you've been telling your story is going to be changing. That's a little disconcerting and disorienting. So for me, the fact that both of our swords cards, which are our air cards, are upside down is really a nod to that. Like, oh my gosh, how can I recalibrate that? So when we bring it into the Six of Swords, this is a card of moving on. It's a card of having to cross the ocean to the next island that we're going to live on. Now, this is very much a card that indicates that we may be surprised at where the support comes from. It may not always be where we expected it to be. When it's upside down, we're maybe struggling to ask for help. And I think a lot of this reading, which is why I think the oils are so perfect to kind of soften the muscles, warm the muscles up, relax the muscles, prepare us for movement, is because a lot of this reading is showing a resistance to movement. A lot of it is showing us that we are being dragged kicking and screaming into this next Plutonic era. And we don't want to, and nobody can make us, and this like really resistant stubbornness. Now, Aquarius is a fixed sign. We have Uranus at the moment and Jupiter in the fixed sign of Taurus. Last year, Venus did a whole fixed sign in Leo, retrograde process. The fixed signs have been pretty active for some time now, going through quite a lot of face your resistance, and you might not like it, but change is happening. And that's been happening for those of us who have strong fixed energy in our natal chart. That's been happening for us for some years. And this is just, it almost feels like the final kicker. I keep getting this kind of vibe of being kicked in the gut or kicked in the face or kicked in the butt. Like, move. You have to move. That's the feeling I'm getting. So because this one has come upside down for us initially, it's again just showing a bit of fear of asking for help, resistance to needing help. If I have to change, I'll change, but you can't tell me who can help me with that. I'm going to do everything myself. This again, just the stubbornness. And remember that Aquarius has got a very community focused energy. So we should be helping each other in an ideal Aquarian age, would be supporting one another, creating community where we play to our strengths. If I can't grow that in my garden, but you can grow in abundance, I can give you milk from my cow kind of thing. And you can give me the tomatoes I couldn't grow. So that's where we should be going. And with the Six of Swords upside down, it's kind of showing us that we don't, and I think this is about vulnerability. We don't want others to see our vulnerabilities. So instead we're trying to do it ourselves, but it's going to take a lot longer to get anywhere on our own. And right now, this is the era of beginning to ask for help and give help where you are strong and get help where someone else is. And then when we have the Knight of Pentacles, the last three cards are court cards. So they are also people. So these may be parts of self, and they may also be other people coming into your life, potentially to help you. Or because this one's in resistance, we might say that maybe there's some
young, generally masculine, but doesn't have to be, energy in your life where that person is just stubbornly refusing any advice or any support, or so that could be somebody outside of your environment, or it could be the part of you that is stubbornly refusing and rather wants to work extra hard on your own. So this can be a bit of a workaholic tendency, especially if it's upside down. I'm going to work so hard and then I will get success with whatever it is that I'm doing, and I'm not going to ask for help. Then I can be responsible for everything, but also, again, slowing down the progress. So it just depends how you choose to step into this energy. You can see when this is upright, there's this beautiful channel of energy moving through this card, giving this forward momentum. And when it's upside down, it's almost like you're driving yourself into the ground. You are working too hard, and yes, you can do everything yourself, but wouldn't it be more joyful? And remember here, we're looking at what are the new joyful, pleasurable, wonderful, abundant, emotionally fulfilling ways that we can proceed into the next space. And we are naturally herd animals. We are naturally connection driven. So we are going to actually enjoy ourselves more. Even some of us are a little bit more shy or a little bit more insular, but nonetheless, on the whole, it is much healthier for us as humans to have connection. And there is a bit of a nod at the moment to F you, I'm not going to get connected to anybody. That way I can't be told how to do things, and I can't be hurt, and I can stay in my little safe, but it's not really safe, bubble, because I'm afraid and I'm vulnerable and I don't know how to do this, and I don't want anybody to know that I don't know how to do this. And so it really feels like a lot of our fears are being pulled to the surface around these types of topics, including our Queen of Swords. And interesting how we have two queens. Did we not have two kings last week? I'm sure we had two kings to start last week's reading. I do a lot of reading, so unless I actually go look back, I can't really remember. And I prefer not to look back until afterwards, just so that I'm not influenced by that knowing, the intellectual knowing, interesting, but rather just let the reading come through me, and then my intellect can go and have a peek, kind of thing. But I'm almost certain we had two kings last week. It feels like we did, and we were potentially out of alignment a little with the feminine, trying so hard to contain that masculine energy of moving forward. And then this week it's just left us feeling like blah, I can't do it. A very meh kind of week, okay? But I do love that what a relief that week. I'm just trying to think. I think last week it might have been a Wands king and a Pentacles king, and now we've got an Air queen and a Pentacles queen. But again, I haven't checked. I'm just drawing from what it feels like as I'm doing this reading. So I love that she popped out at the end there and just gave us a little bit of promise of the future, because this is kind of some hard energy. And it's interesting that I chose the oil past tense. She's looking backwards. She's looking backwards. He's looking backwards. She's looking backwards. She, in a positive way, is recognizing what the past has brought her towards. So she's got her eyes closed, and she is almost more grateful for the lessons learned from the past and the work invested in my past to bring me to this point. But generally, if this queen was upright, she would have this forward-looking kind of energy. And she is generally a very heady person, so she's very logical and she makes decisions very well, and she can be practical with it. She has the emotional, see this little cup in a little cage down here. She has the well of her emotional intelligence to draw from, but it's not her first go-to place, and she kind of keeps it contained, because in the world of the Queen of Swords, she needs to be more linear and intellectually based rather than emotionally based. When this is upside down, it might be saying to us, use your head more than your heart right now. Don't make decisions from a very emotional place. Look at where you're being turned around. Look at where your thoughts are upside down. Look at where there is a resistance maybe to making decisions, because she can be very decisive if she's upright and a little bit indecisive. And also when we go into past tense thinking, past tense, funny, I didn't do that on purpose. When we go into past tense thinking, we are drawing from our emotions of what happened. I mean, we're drawing from our intellect from what happened as well, but we have an emotional response to those things, where we don't really have an emotional response to the future. It's more intellectually based. I think this might feel like that, whereas in the past, I know it felt like that. And kind of taking her a little bit out of her present moment decisive action, because she's being a little bit more emotionally hooked again into our fears, into our vulnerabilities, and this is creating resistance in making the decisions to move in the directions we need to move. But also, I don't necessarily feel like this is something we should be, oh gosh, what's wrong with me? I should be moving forward. I think there is a lot of forward momentum right now, but it's almost okay to pause for thought. It's almost okay to feel a little discombobulated, because it's a discombobulating time. And then what I love about the Queen of Pens at the end here is that she is slow. She is steady, she is calm, she is stable. She doesn't need to be rushed. She doesn't fear hard work. She'll put in the work, but she also knows how to rest. She has that work-life balance thing going, which I think all of us are trying desperately to achieve. And oftentimes in the way that society has been, especially coming out of the old workaholic Pluto and Capricorn, we have not had that balance. And Aquarius is saying to us, Pluto and Aquarius is saying, is there another way? Is there a way that I can be productive? And maybe the whole COVID 2020 thing has helped to facilitate that for us in many ways, because a lot of people work from home now. You lose the commute. You can maybe be more effective because you're not putting out fires in an office. You are being able to just be more productive for 4 hours rather than 8 hours a day. Those kinds of things are those Aquarian progressions that we're looking at. How can I then have more flexibility to fetch my kids from school, or more flexibility to go to the gym at times that suit me, rather than only outside of normal working hours, that kind of thing. And that is creating this fruitful, stable, balanced, practical, abundant, peaceful kind of existence. Bearing in mind, of course, none of those things will always be true. We are not always in peace. We are not always in balance. But the overall feeling for me of this week through this new moon is to really look at new moon and the Mercury moving into conjunct Pluto on Monday, is to really look at those subjects, the Capricorn moving into Aquarius, and look at where do I want to make these changes in my life, and where am I resisting them for the wrong reasons? Am I resisting this out of fear of others seeing my vulnerabilities, fear of failure? Because if those are where your resistances are coming from, then it's kind of like, feel the fear and do it anyway. Take a leap of faith. Begin the hero or the heroine's journey. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for all your comments, likes, shares, subscribes, follows, all of the good stuff that helps with the algorithms. And if you're looking for support with personal readings, please don't hesitate to check out my link below this video. Thanks again.